3 months after I sent that text to Sam, I was standing outside her apartment building with a folder containing my finalized divorce papers. My hands shaking so badly I could barely press the buzzer. The autumn wind cut through my jacket, or maybe I was just terrified. I'd rehearsed what I'd say 100 times, but now that I was actually here, every word had evaporated from my mind except for the truth. I was in love with her, and I needed her to know. If you're just joining this story, go back and watch part 1 first so you understand how I got here. For those of you who've been waiting to see what happened next, thank you for coming back. This is where everything gets real. The 3 months since I'd asked Daniel for a divorce had been the hardest and most transformative of my life. The actual divorce process was brutal. Daniel was hurt and angry, oscillating between wanting to understand and wanting to punish me. We had to tell our families, divide our assets, explain to friends why we were throwing away 8 years of marriage. My mother cried for 3 days straight when I told her. Not because I was getting divorced, though that was bad enough in her traditional Mexican Catholic worldview, but because I told her the truth about why. I told her I thought I might be gay, that I'd fallen for a woman, that I couldn't keep living a lie. She said I was confused, that this was a phase, that I was throwing away a good man for a fantasy. My father barely spoke to me for a month. Work was complicated too. The firm was progressive in theory, but having a senior partner go through a sudden divorce and come out in her 30s raised eyebrows. Some colleagues were supportive. Others whispered that I was having a midlife crisis. A few clients requested different attorneys, uncomfortable with my personal life suddenly being visible instead of safely heterosexual and married. But through it all, I kept thinking about Sam. About the way she'd looked at me during that last conversation in my home gym. About her text saying she was proud of me. About the possibility that maybe, just maybe, if I did the work to understand myself and got to the other side of my marriage, there might be a chance for us. I'd stayed in therapy, doing the deep work of understanding my sexuality. My therapist helped me realize I'd probably always been queer, but had suppressed it so deeply I didn't even recognize it. Looking back, I could see the signs. The way I'd been more invested in my female friendships than my relationship with Daniel. The way I'd watched certain actresses in movies with an intensity that went beyond admiration. The way I'd felt nothing but numbness when Daniel touched me, assuming that's just how married sex was supposed to feel after years together. I'd started exploring queer spaces, going to LGBTQ events, reading coming out stories from other late bloomers. I downloaded dating apps just to see what was out there, talked to other women, even gone on a few awkward coffee dates. But every time I found myself comparing them to Sam. The way they laughed wasn't quite right. Their conversation didn't flow the same way. They didn't make me feel that electric charge I'd felt with her. I realized I wasn't ready to date. I was still in love with Sam, and until I dealt with that, I couldn't move forward with anyone else. So here I was, 6 p.m. on a Friday evening, pressing the buzzer to apartment 4B, my heart threatening to explode out of my chest. Hello? Her voice came through the intercom, and just hearing it made my eyes sting with tears. Sam, it's Maya. Can we talk? Please? A long pause. Then, come up. The elevator ride to the 4th floor felt like an eternity. When the doors opened, Sam was standing in her apartment doorway, and the sight of her made my breath catch. She was wearing jeans and a soft gray sweater, her short hair slightly mussed like she'd been running her hands through it. She looked beautiful and weary and tired, like these months had been hard for her too. Hi, I said, my voice barely working. Hi. She didn't move from the doorway. Maya, what are you doing here? Can I come in? I promise I'll leave if you want me to, after you hear what I have to say. But I need to say it. She studied my face for a long moment, then stepped aside. Okay. Her apartment was small but cozy, filled with books and plants and movie posters. A gray cat, Ripley, watched me suspiciously from the back of the couch. I stood awkwardly in the middle of the living room, still clutching my folder. Do you want something to drink? Sam asked, her tone carefully neutral. No, I just need to talk before I lose my nerve. I took a deep breath. My divorce was finalized yesterday. It's done. Daniel and I are officially over. I'm sorry. I know that must have been difficult. It was. But it was also necessary and right. Sam, these last 3 months I've done a lot of work. Therapy, soul searching, exploring who I am. And I've come to understand some things about myself.
She crossed her arms, protective.
Maya, if you here to tell me you've figured out you gay and you want to explore that with me.
I need you to know that's not something I'm interested in. I meant what I said before.
I can't be your experiment. That's not what this is. I moved closer then stopped, respecting her space. I'm not here because I want to experiment. I'm here because I'm in love with you. I've been in love with you since probably the second week we trained together. I just didn't have the language or the courage to admit it. Sam's carefully neutral expression cracked slightly. You can't just say that. Why not? It's true. Sam, you asked me to take time and space to figure myself out, and I did. I went to therapy. I explored my sexuality. I even tried dating other women. And you know what I learned? That what I feel for you isn't about figuring out if I'm attracted to women in general. It's about you specifically. You're the person who makes me laugh. You're the person I want to tell about my day. You're the person whose touch makes me feel alive. Not because you're a woman and I'm exploring that novelty. Because you're Sam and you're incredible and I'm completely in love with you. Maya, you just got divorced. You're vulnerable and going through a massive life change. You don't know what you're feeling right now. I'm feeling what I've been feeling for 3 months. What I felt before the divorce even started. I finally opened my folder and pulled out a journal. I've been writing. Every day. About what I'm feeling, what I'm learning about myself. And your name is on almost every page. Not because I'm obsessing over some fantasy, but because you fundamentally changed how I see the world and myself. I held out the journal. You don't have to read it now. You probably shouldn't. But I wanted you to see that this isn't some impulsive decision or a rebound. This is me, after months of hard work and painful honesty, knowing exactly what I want. And what I want is a chance with you. Sam didn't take the journal. You want to know what my last 3 months have been like? I've thought about you constantly. I've checked your social media even though I knew I shouldn't.
I saw the posts about your divorce, saw you starting to go to pride events, saw you beginning to live authentically.
And I was proud of you and heartbroken at the same time, because I thought maybe you'd do all that work, and then realize I was just the catalyst, not the actual goal.
You're not the catalyst, Sam. You're the goal. You're the person I want to build a life with.
How can you know that? You've been out for 3 months. You haven't even really dated as an openly queer woman. You might meet someone tomorrow who makes you feel even more than I do. That's not going to happen. You can't know that. Yes, I can.
I finally closed the distance between us, close enough to see the gold flecks in her eyes again, the way I had that day in my gym.
Because I've spent 3 months trying to move on from you. And I can't. Because every woman I talked to on dating apps, I compared to you and they didn't measure up. Because when something good happens, you're the first person I want to tell. Because I dream about you and wake up aching. Because I'm standing here, terrified you're going to reject me. And I still can't walk away without telling you the truth. Sam's eyes were shining with tears now. The truth is I'm scared, Maya. I'm scared you're going to realize being with a woman is harder than you thought. I'm scared your family won't accept us and you'll resent me for it. I'm scared you'll miss your old life and decide this was all a mistake. I've been the woman who someone left their marriage for before, and when the reality didn't match the fantasy, I was the one left heartbroken. I'm scared too. I let the tears fall freely now. I'm scared I'm not queer enough or experienced enough. I'm scared I'll mess this up because I'm new to all of this. I'm scared you'll realize I come with too much baggage, a messy divorce, a family that might never fully accept me, a career that's been complicated by my coming out. But I'm more scared of not trying. I'm more scared of walking away and spending the rest of my life wondering what if. Maya, I know I'm asking a lot. I know I can't promise everything will be easy or that I won't make mistakes. But I can promise that I've done the work. I can promise that I know myself better now than I ever have. And I can promise that what I feel for you is real and deep and not going anywhere. Sam reached up and wiped tears from my cheeks, and that simple touch sent electricity through me just like it had months ago. I want to believe you. Then believe me. Take a chance on me. On us. If we do this, Sam said slowly. We have to do it right. No rushing. We date properly, get to know each other outside of the gym and the intensity of what we've been through. We take it slow and make sure this is real for both of us. Yes, whatever you need. I'll wait as long as you want. And you have to promise me that if you realize this isn't what you want, if you change your mind or miss your old life, you'll tell me. You won't stay out of guilt or obligation? I promise. And I need you to promise me the same thing. That if this doesn't work, it's not because you didn't give it a real chance out of fear. Sam smiled through her tears. Okay, I promise. So is that a yes? You'll give us a chance? Instead of answering, Sam kissed me. It was soft and tentative and perfect. And unlike the panic I'd felt the last time we'd almost kissed, all I felt was rightness. This was where I was supposed to be. This was who I was supposed to be with. When we pulled apart, we were both laughing and crying at the same time. That's a yes, Sam said. But we're really taking this slow, Maya. Coffee dates and getting to know each other properly and building something real. Absolutely. The slowest. We stood there grinning at each other like idiots until Ripley meowed loudly from the couch, breaking the moment. She's judging us, I said. She judges everyone. But she warm up to you eventually. Probably. Sam took my hand, threading our fingers together. Do you want to stay for dinner? I was just going to make pasta. Nothing fancy. I'd love that. We moved to her small kitchen, and she started pulling ingredients out of the refrigerator while I sat at her counter, still holding my journal, still barely believing this was real. So, Sam said as she chopped vegetables, tell me about these 3 months. I want to hear everything. The therapy, the coming out process, all of it. So I did. I told her about my mother's reaction and my father's silence. I told her about the uncomfortable conversations with colleagues and the clients who'd requested new attorneys. I told her about my first Pride event, how overwhelming and beautiful it was to be in a space where I belonged. I told her about the awful dates and the uncomfortable realization that I was comparing everyone to her. She listened with the same attention she'd always given me, asking questions, making me laugh, being present in a way that felt like coming home. What about you? I asked as we sat down to eat. What have your 3 months been like? Honestly? Harder than I expected. I convinced myself I was over you, that I'd moved on. But then I'd see something that reminded me of you and realize I was lying to myself. I went on a few dates too, actually. Tried to get back out there. A spike of jealousy shot through me. How did that go? Terribly. Because I kept thinking they weren't you. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I've been trying not to hope that you'd come back. Trying to protect myself from the possibility of getting hurt again. And then you showed up at my door with divorce papers and a journal full of feelings. And all my defenses just crumbled. Good, I'm glad they crumbled. We spent the next 3 hours talking. Really talking the way we used to during training sessions, but deeper now, more honest. We talked about fears and hopes and what we both wanted from a relationship. We talked about logistics too. The fact that my divorce was messy and public meant we didn't need to be careful about being seen together too soon. The fact that I was still figuring out my place in the queer community meant I'd need patience as I navigated spaces where she was comfortable and I was new. I don't want to hide this, I said. I don't want to hide us. But I also don't want to make things harder for you by association with my mess. Your mess is part of your story, and your story is part of what I love about you. We'll figure it out together. Sam glanced at the clock. It's almost 10. I should probably let you go. I don't want to leave. The words came out before I could stop them. Maya, we said slow. I know. And I meant it. I'm not asking to stay over or anything. I just mean I don't want this night to end. I've been waiting 3 months to be able to talk to you like this again. How about this? Sam said, standing and pulling me up with her. We make plans for a proper date tomorrow. Dinner somewhere nice, maybe a movie after. A real date where I pick you up and we do the whole thing right. I'd love that. She walked me to the door, and we stood there in the hallway, neither wanting to say goodbye. Thank you for taking a chance on me, I said. For not giving up on the possibility of us. Thank you for doing the work. For being brave enough to figure yourself out, and then brave enough to come tell me. Sam kissed me again, and it still felt like magic.
Text me when you get home safe.
I will. I was halfway to the elevator when I heard Sam call my name.
I turned to find her standing in her doorway, backlit by the warm light from her apartment.
Maya? I'm in love with you too. I have been for a long time.
I just needed you to know that.
The elevator ride down felt like floating. I walked to my car with a stupid grin on my face, my phone already buzzing with a text from Sam. Already counting down until tomorrow. I replied immediately. Me too. Sleep well, Sam. You too. And Maya?
I'm really glad you showed up at my door tonight. Best decision I've ever made.
I drove back to my new apartment,
a small one-bedroom I'd rented after selling the house with Daniel. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt completely at peace. My life was different now, smaller in some ways, more complicated in others.
But it was mine, authentically mine, and I was building it with someone who saw me and loved me exactly as I was. The next day, Sam picked me up at 7 for our official first date. She brought me flowers, sunflowers, because she remembered me mentioning they were my favorite. We went to a cozy Italian restaurant where the owner was Sam's friend and made us feel completely welcome. We held hands across the table and nobody stared or judged. We just were two women falling in love over pasta and wine and easy conversation. After dinner, we walked through the city, ending up at the lakefront where we sat on a bench watching the water. Sam had her arm around me, and I leaned into her warmth, feeling safer and more myself than I ever had.
I know we're taking this slow, Sam said, but I need you to know something.
I'm all in on this. On us. I'm not holding back or protecting myself anymore. I'm choosing to trust that what we have is real.
I'm all in too. Completely.
We kissed under the stars, and it felt like a beginning, like the start of the life I was meant to live all along. Over the next few weeks, we fell into a rhythm. We had proper dates, spent time getting to know each other outside the intensity of how we'd met. We went to movies and tried new restaurants and spent lazy Sunday mornings drinking coffee and reading the paper together.
We took it slow physically too, both of us wanting to make sure we were building something real, not just acting on chemistry.
But it was real. More real than anything I'd experienced before. Sam was patient with my inexperience, teaching me without making me feel inadequate. I was learning the landscape of a woman's body, the different rhythms and responses, and discovering that intimacy could be about true connection instead of going through motions. If you've been on a journey of self-discovery, if you've had to rebuild your life from the ground up to live authentically, share your story in the comments below. And subscribe to watch Part 3 Final to find out how our story continues. Because we're about to face our biggest challenge yet when my family shows up unannounced and finds Sam in my apartment forcing a confrontation that will test everything we've built together.